Hi, welcome to 5 Minutes of Torah with a BI Rabbi. I'm Rabbi Adam Stein, coming to you from Caulfield. Not Caulfield Village, the nice little place on the water that you pass by when going to Horseshoe Bay Ferry Terminal, but Caulfield, the area of Melbourne, Australia, where I am in right now, this Caulfield Park. This is an area that is very Jewish, lots of Jewish day schools, lots of kosher restaurants, literally dozens of synagogues, and this is where Rabbi Infeld and family spent a week or two on their sabbatical many years ago. This is where we spent more or less 5 years when we lived here. And we're here now just being with friends and community. And it really feels comfortable to walk around in a place where there's not just these Jewish institutions I mentioned, but to see people walking around with kippot on, with tzitzit hanging out, maybe with a huge tallis on a Shabbat morning, and maybe the t-shirts from their Jewish schools or youth groups, and even to see big signs advertising Jewish events and fundraisers. It's just a comfortable place. I've been so comfortable walking around with my own kippah on, whereas still in the central business district in downtown in Melbourne or Sydney, it's sadly still just a little uncomfortable to walk around like that, especially with the past 2.5 years of anti-Semitic incidents and attacks in Canada, in Australia, and leading up to, of course, the really, really awful terrorist shooting almost 3 weeks ago now in Sydney. And speaking of that shooting, I've still been thinking about it, and really all of Australia has still been thinking about it. I think there's still a lot of trauma here in the Jewish community especially, but really throughout the Australian community, the shock and the trauma of something so awful happening here. And we just had New Year's. In the past day or two, we had it 19 hours ahead of you in Vancouver. But our family, we came home a little before midnight, and we watched some of the fireworks on our phones and iPads, including the ones in Sydney. And there were huge, amazing fireworks. But before they started at the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge, hundreds of thousands of people, maybe 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 people, took a long moment of silence with Hanukkah menorahs, Hanukkot projected onto the bridge, and people holding up their phones with the torches, the flashlights on, in a moment of silence to the victims of Bondi. It was powerful. And it made me think of all the people who died in that shooting. People have died in wars recently in Israel, Gaza, and in Darfur, and in Ukraine, and the people and the families. And I've been especially thinking about this as we've read about each individual person and family killed in Bondi. The lovely man who met his wife on Bondi Beach decades ago and died protecting her. The guy about my age, Adam Smythe, who had 4 children and a wife, who went to business school with a friend of mine here. The little girl, Matilda. The stories just go on of the 16, I think, people killed, each having a family and friends and influence, positive influence over people that lasts. In our Torah portion this week, there's this powerful scene of Jacob blessing his 2 grandsons, Ephraim and Menashe. And I love this scene and the song that comes from it, Hamalach HaGoel Oti, and the way that we bless our children on Friday nights that comes from this scene. And I've taught about this in videos like this, in drashot and sermons many times the past 15, 20 years. And as I was thinking about it an hour or two ago, I realized suddenly, I told my wife Tamar this, probably the last time I taught about this was a year ago. And this parsha came up because Rabbi Matthew Bellis's children, Rabbi Bellis, may his memory be for a blessing, his children spoke about how Matthew loved this song, Hamalach HaGoel Oti, and blessing his children, probably blessing students. They talked about how meaningful that was. And I think about how meaningful it is for people to pass on their positive influence to family members, to children and grandchildren. The Italian commentator Sforno says that even if people have evil or wicked or idolatrous relatives, parents, grandparents, he's talking about Jacob's family members, Nahor and Terach, Abraham's family, we don't need to be assumed to be influenced by them. Our righteousness can hold up on its own. So I bless us all that we can take in the positive influence of our righteous family members and be supported and loved by them. Amen.